Hello, everyone. Oh, whoa, that's the wrong hand to do that with. Good to see you guys. Welcome back. Who we got here today? We got Wad, Tomato, N.
Wad, welcome in.
Good to see you, Wad. How you doing? Hoosiers, the Wicked Witch of the South. Nope, Wicked Witch of the South. Or the North. Or the Northeast. Southeast. We need to designate which cardinal direction we're going. What do you think, Christopher? Cardinal direction.
Wicked Witch of all directions.
The Wicked Witch of
That's
all
right.
directions. I like it.
Every direction.
I
Welcome
like
in,
it.
everybody. We are back with Baby J today. We are doing the OSL and Witch Work Up.
Mm-hmm.
And this is part 2.
Pot.
If you'd like to catch the first part of this, it was on Tuesday. Yesterday we had Jason. Today we have Baby J, who is now Adult J. And tomorrow will be Jason again.
Adult J.
Welcome in, everybody.
Come on. Many adults. Few J's. It's time for us to talk about the one, the only object source lighting. So, if you were here on Tuesday, you guys had the opportunity to watch through the whole process of us painting the face as it currently sits, along with some hair and some of these bangles and the hat. We did this in about 2 hours flat, and the goal was to kind of set the stage for the object source lighting that we're going to paint on today's stream. The goal is to replicate the effects that we're getting on this texture trainer that I painted a long time ago, back at UK Games Expo last year. And the idea is to kind of teach you guys what to think about when you're looking at doing OSL as an effect. So we're gonna start here. We're gonna kind of just dig into it pretty quick and get started.
So what colors are you going to use?
Yeah,
Jordan?
so how do I best describe this for you guys? There are 5 colors that we're going to be using, probably 6 once we get into kind of the brightest parts of where we're going to be working on the OSL. We're going to be using the Faded Ultramarine and the Dark Plum that we used in the previous session, right? Those are our core colors for the skin tone. Our local colors, as I like to refer them to. Local color being the color of the actual object, right? So the skin's native color or local color is that mixture. In the value will shift beyond that, but that's the color that we're using for that. And then from there, we're going to mix in some greens. We're going to be using green, we're going to be using bright green, and we're going to be using bismuth yellow. We'll also use, let me grab not bright ivory. We're just going to grab pale yellow as well. So these 6 colors are the colors that we're going to be using, 4 of which are new to the recipe that we are doing today. And we're going to start by laying in some areas where we want to have this glow hit. We're going to do this with a mixture of the Faded Ultramarine, Dark Plum, and a little bit of green.
SM Kin, thank you for that Prime sub. Thank you. Welcome in.
Thank you. Welcome. Hello. And today, while we're kind of going over these initial steps and the further more complicated steps, I'm going to take you guys kind of through the process of where and how to think about how light interacts with objects, how light reflects off of objects, and how bright your OSL should be, how dark your OSL should be, where it should be located, things like that. So we're gonna really kind of dig into all of this stuff here on stream today. So you'll notice on this palette where I'm mixing in the skin color here. If we can get a palette cam real quick, Mr. Sushi. You can see we've got the skin tone color right there. And then below, I'm mixing in some of that green. And you'll notice that it gets really desaturated, almost to like a gray color. I'm adding a little bit more dark plum here so we can darken it just a bit. But I definitely want this green to kind of be a green-gray almost. So what we're going to do, back to the model here, if we get a nice zoom in on the face. So you're going to see me focus on areas where there are not deep folds in the skin, right? So areas where the light would fall. So cheekbones, right, is a good place for that. The eyebrows up here. And we're going to focus on specifically the skin right now. We'll get to the other parts here in a little bit. We will definitely be touching on those. But right now, we're kind of just laying in some foundational color. And the reason we're incorporating the green is because obviously this glow is going to be green. And the color, the skin is going to reflect that color, even if it's darker. So it's going to be reflecting green back into your eyes. So even those shadowed areas will be reflecting green in combination with the other parts of the skin that are there. So I mean, even just a little bit of that right there starts to add a lot of dimension to that side of the face. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add more and more green to start bringing this to be a little bit brighter. And we're going to do a couple steps of this to kind of just sketch out our initial areas of brightness. And one of the things to think about here is the closer the object that is emitting light is to the object that it is casting light on, the brighter that reflective quality is going to be on the skin. So the brighter that OSL is going to show up. So she's holding this glowing mushroom up basically right in front of her face. So this light is going to be pretty dramatic on her face. That's why it's so bright in this OSL, right? And you'll notice most of that brightness is level with the glowing mushroom, in that it's hitting mostly her cheek, the bottom of her eyelid, and the little bit of her nose. So it's all parallel, right? So you're seeing this line that's getting drawn here, where this is the closest part. So this is the brightest part to this. And then as it fades away, the brightness goes down, right? Down here, it's not getting direct light because it's getting cut off by the mushroom a little bit. So it's a little bit more diffused. It's not quite as bright. This part up here is not in direct light. It's getting covered a little bit by our fingers. So this area right here is the part that's getting the most light on it from the mushroom, right? So this area is going to be the brightest. But we want this reflective color down here as well, and down even into the, the shirt, because there's a hole here where you can see that mushroom in her hand all the way down through to here.
Valander the Red, thank you so much for that 8-month sub.
Thank you.
Subscribe for 6 months. Thank you so much. We always appreciate that. Whenever I can't, only 8 months so far, but I'm slowly getting to more Pro Krill. That's awesome.
Nice.
Thank you so much for that. We always appreciate those subs.
So focusing on that cheekbone and this part of the nose that we saw from that previous model. I'm going to hit a little bit underneath this eyebrow as well, because that's going to catch some of the light. Also, I'm going to put a little bit on the inside of this eyebrow as well, just to show that some of that light is getting caught on the underside of her other part of her eyebrow, because her eyebrows are very pronounced. So they make a lot of they come up out off the face a lot, so they would definitely catch a lot of that light. And you can see I'm just kind of highlighting the folds of the skin like I would a normal highlight from a model. I'm just doing it in a different direction. I'm going to blend some of this color down here out because it doesn't need to be that bright. So we're knocking it back and we're pushing that extra light. You'll see that I'm blending it back towards where I want the light to be the most intense. That's always a really good rule of thumb when you're doing any sort of blending is or even layering, you want to have your brushstroke end generally where the brightness of the color is going to be at its maximum.
Question from Captain Moss and Balls. What's the current number of Pro Acryl paints available, and what is the goal number for, say, Christmas 2026?
Well, I think if I recall, we're at 121 right now. And then with the 24 that we've already announced are going to show up at Adepticon.
Which you'll have to stay tuned for that.
Yep. Can't tell you any more than that. That's a Jason thing. He likes to give you guys all the nitty gritty, but I can talk about it because he's already said it on stream. So that'll bring you up to what's that math end up being? 145. 145. 24 plus 121 is 145. Yeah. I can tell you everything about certain things, but there are many things that I cannot divulge. As I like my job and I liked working here. And, if I want to continue working here, there are things I cannot divulge. All right, so we're jumping up into almost pure green here. And again, we're starting on the cheeks. A little bit here on the eyebrows. And a lot of this is just kind of playing with these colors and adjusting them until you get to the point where you feel like it is the appropriate amount of light for how close, like, so here's an interesting thing about OSL and about like non-metallic metal and things like that. Your brain intuitively knows what these things are supposed to look like. So if it looks wrong, it's generally pretty good in like intuition that it still needs to be worked on a little bit. And you can keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it until you go, oh, that looks right. And then if it looks right, then you can stop. But if it keeps looking wrong and you can't figure out why it looks wrong, that's when you want to pull up reference, right? Because reference will inform us on what this thing is supposed to look like. So object source lighting, etc., that sort of thing. Looking up, like I find for OSL, like looking up Star Wars is a really good piece of reference there because there's a lot of like lightsabers reflecting off of people's faces in those movies. So there's a lot of good reference that can be had. Even though those are films, they're not necessarily super realistic. They look cool. And generally speaking, for this sort of stuff, rule of cool is generally better than super duper accurate. Now you can go for hyperrealism, and that's great, but it is a different sort of process. It is a little bit more meticulous. All right, so there you can kind of see how we have this like reverse gradient happening where it's really dark here, and then it progressively starts to get brighter as you go towards the brightest part of where we want that glow, right? And then I'm extending some of this light down onto the areas of the chin and the lips down here. I'll put a little bit on the back of that little boil on her nose. Cool. And then we're going to keep going.
It shows things like how only the medium brightness portions are fully saturated, the brightest parts desaturated towards white, and the darkest parts desaturated towards the natural color. Yeah, you can start to really see it come together as the light gets further and further from that object.
Yep.
Game delay more, Jordan. I hope work lets me pay attention today.
Well, the nice thing is, even if work doesn't let you pay attention, life will let you pay attention after work. So you can always watch the VOD. All right, here we go. Here's our first big jump in brightness. And interestingly enough, almost like non-metallic metal, OSL kind of has that same effect where it doesn't really look right until you start making those big jumps in value. This is me just kind of sketching this on here so I can get the right positioning of that brightness. And then remember, I'm focusing on keeping this in the area where the light would be reflecting, right? Directly from this glowy mushroom. That's good. Now, I definitely want this to be a bit brighter. So I'm going to punch the intensity on this a little bit.
Papa Chicken, did you not get your chat mandated energy drink today? No, I will tend to get very into the paint job and watch as well as long as responding to you guys. So Papa Chicken, that's why, because then I can record more bits.
More bits and bobs.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So we're going back with a step darker. So this is kind of going back to that green color. And we're gonna blend on top of the color that we just put on there, that bright green. And we're gonna blend this all together. And this will soften some of the edges. This diffuses some of that brightness out so it doesn't look quite as intense.
Here's a question from SM Ken. Going to start painting some Warlord Epic Infantry. Would there be any advantages of using some noosh in my workflow, or with the figures being that small, would it be a waste?
I think that noosh works really well in an environment where you have enough detail to capture a lot of the kind of the noosh mixture. And I think with such small miniatures, I think you're going to be losing out on a lot of that detail. So I would say you're probably better served with just a simple wash.
Going into Voldemort's question, what's the difference between oil washes? What's the difference between oil washes and what's the difference between normal washes?
Yeah, so here, I'm going to set this down really quick so I can explain this better. So an oil wash, okay, they're designed to do the same thing, right? So a wash in general is designed to flow on top of areas that you've already painted. They're going to flow into the recesses and they're going to add darkness in those areas of recess. Now, the material that you're using to apply this paint is different, right? So the medium for an acrylic paint is water, whereas an oil paint is oil, obviously. So these two paints will have different properties based on what the the kind of the mechanics of what goes into them, right? So an oil is going to be open a lot longer. It takes a lot longer to dry. You'll be able to mess around with it for a long time while it's on the model. It will also have a different property for how it flows onto a miniature. The surface tension of oil is higher than water, so it has a tendency to flow really, really easily and quickly into those recesses. Whereas water will tend to stick to the surface a little bit better, and like to lay a little bit more flat. Oil will tend to stick to its stuff. That's why oil doesn't. Yeah. So, anyways, when you do that, oil will have that kind of capillary action that you experience when you see a lot of people doing oil washes and things like that, right? So that's where you take a little bit of the oil wash, you touch it to like a panel line or something like that, and the paint just goes whoop, and it just goes right into that line. Water will do that, or an acrylic wash will do that, but it does it less effectively. So it doesn't pull into the recesses quite as well. And like I said, that just has to do with the surface tension of the water and the surface tension of oil and how different they are. But all you really need to know is that the oil does it better than water does. Now, why do we use water-based washes? Well, the reason why is because then you're not working with oil. It dries faster. You don't have to use any sort of mineral spirits or any sort of solvents to remove excess paint. The paint just kind of sits on the model and it dries and it's great, and you can keep working on it really quickly. That's the benefit of using acrylics. That's why acrylics exist. Also, acrylics are super durable. So there's durability aspect to acrylics as well. So there's that trade-off between the two. As far as functionality of what you're doing with them, it's all the same, right? Oil washes, you'll want to typically remove some of that excess paint that flows outside of those kind of panel lines or of those areas that you don't want it, and you'll damp a piece of cloth or a brush or a makeup sponge with a little bit of mineral spirits, and you'll use that to remove the excess paint on top of that area of recess. That's using a subtractive method of painting. That is what we do with Noosh, right? So Noosh is our kind of way of giving you an acrylic-based solution to a subtractive painting style. So with Noosh, it has a long enough open time, even as a water-based acrylic, that it will allow you to apply it and then remove it like you would with an oil paint. But you can just use water and you can just use a sponge. You don't need any sort of mineral spirits or anything like that. So in that point, the idea is that we want it to be easier to use and more accessible than something like oils. Even though oils do it slightly differently, right? Because oils, like I said, they flow better into those little recesses, whereas water-based products will not. Same thing with enamels. Enamels will do the same sort of thing. They tend to flow a little bit better into those recesses. Not as well as oils, but that's kind of the trade-off, right? And understanding the differences between how oils work and how water-based acrylics and how enamels work is important for understanding why you're picking one over the other. And for acrylics, durability, ease of use, and the fact that you don't need anything other than water to thin them down is why acrylics are the most widely used paints on the market for what we do.
Volume 1, I think that answered your question. Is oil paint as durable as acrylic paint?
It can be.
It can be, yeah.
Generally speaking, acrylic paint is going to be more durable.
Does oil wash react better against gravity versus water? Ask Man Bull Moose.
Does oil wash react better against gravity versus water?
Clarify that one.
So,
Man Bull.
So gravity has less to do with it, right? So, I don't want to get super deep into the science of this, mostly because I'm not 100% confident in the specific terminology that would be used. So I'll kind of break it down in a more simple way for you. Oil washes and oil-based liquids that are thinned down via solvents will rush into empty space by virtue of how physics works quicker and more easily than water will. And this has to do with the fact that they're oil-based versus water-based. They're slicker, they flow easier, they just are quicker for that sort of thing. Not that water-based acrylics are bad at this. They're very, very good at it. You will just not get as much of that pull feeling, which I think is potentially what you're talking about when you're asking about the gravity. That's not gravity, that's just physics, which technically gravity is also physics too. Anyways, it has less to do with gravity. Yeah, I mean they are anti-gravity to some extent, right? It's not a law of gravity that's causing that. Yeah, the science, surface tension and oil creeping up a line against gravity better than water. Yeah. That brings me to the question of the difference between wash and glaze. Is it simply pigmentation? No. The difference between a wash and a glaze has more to do with how you're applying it and how thin the mixture is, or how translucent the mixture is. So a wash, you want good pigmentation in it because you want that pigment to settle into the recesses, right? What you're looking for in a wash is you're looking for something that's going to deposit that, have good flow, and is going to deposit that pigment into the recesses without tinting the surfaces too much. This is why you want to thin down your paint, so that, and use a little bit of glaze and wash medium so that it is more translucent when you apply it, and it pools into those recesses. More of that pigment gathers into the recesses. Our washes are specially formulated to do this really, really well, which is why we made the washes. And you can get a similar effect by using glaze and wash medium with any of the other paints that we make, right? That's why we made the glaze and wash medium. Now, when you're using glaze and wash medium, if you want to use a glaze, you simply thin down the mixture a little bit more, and you use less of it. You're not flooding the surface with a glaze. You're simply applying a thin layer of a translucent color on top of the paint that you've already put onto the model in an effort to create a gradient between two layers of color, right? So if you have a bright green and you have a green and you want to blend these two together smoothly, you can create a glaze of your green, or a glaze of a mixture between green and bright green, thin it down, make it more translucent. For me, I like using like a 5 drops of like glaze and wash medium, and then 1 part of each, and then enough water to get it to a nice smooth consistency. And then I will then remove the excess of that mixture from my brush, so I'm only applying exactly how much I need. And we'll go through some glazing techniques here a little bit later once we kind of get into that step. So you'll actually see it in action. But specifically speaking, like when we're really getting down to the nitty-gritty of it, it is controlled application versus application designed to flood the area with pigment. And you don't want that, when you're applying a wash, you don't want it to pool significantly, but you want it to saturate the area with paint, and then also go into all the details so that there's pigment in those recesses. So that's the big difference between a wash and a glaze.
All right, Jordan. So what's next for the OSL?
Yeah, so we're going to keep brightening this up. I'm actually going to start adding a little bit of yellow here. Yellow is a great way to boost the intensity of green glows. It has this really wonderful quality of just really brightening things up. It is a brighter color. It's a more vibrant color by itself, but it also kind of just has that similar sort of quality that fluorescents can have, where they are just super duper intense. Yeah. Oh, here, let me. Boom.
Malev, I like the part where you made it brighter. Jordan and Christopher are the yellow in my day. Oh.
Aw. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We try.
If you're all just tuning in, welcome. We're picking up with the Witch Work Up and a little bit of OSL. We had Baby J do this first portion on Tuesday, so check out that VOD if you haven't seen it. We had Jason yesterday doing some decals and weathering. And today we got Baby J back, and then tomorrow we got Jason. It's just a variety week for you, chat. If you have any questions, be sure to tag me so that I can see them. But for now, enjoy some OSL.
Yep. We've answered some good questions on stream as well about washes and oils and glazes and things like that. Been a fun day so far. You guys are out here asking the most important questions. All right, so as we can kind of build this up here, you want to zoom out really quick. So you can see how we're starting to build up that brightness in a similar sort of way of how we have it built up on the model on the right. Now, the big thing that's missing, and this is kind of something that I'm going to start swinging over to here in a second, is you notice that the rest of the parts of the model, so including the like bangles on the hat and part of the hat and the hair, is all getting that OSL as well. And that's what really kind of pulls it together and makes it feel like it's glowing onto her. So we're going to kind of knock that out right now. And for this, we're going to take this brighter color. Now remember, this part doesn't have any of the faded ultramarine or the dark plum in it. This is just that pure green with a little bit of bright green and a touch of the bismuth yellow. And we're going to throw this onto the hair. We're also going to throw it onto the cap. And this is kind of just a sketch at this point, right? We just want to establish where those bright points are going to be. And then we're going to take some of the regular green. We're going to thin this down a little bit. And we're going to start incorporating that on top. You're going to see me hit part of the face here with it as well, just to kind of blend out some of those areas where it was a little too bright again. Smooth everything out.
Avian's got a question. I have a weird question for OSL. In this case, and I'm doing a Carnifex mouth about to fire a plasma beam, as white is your brightest point, how do you handle the teeth?
So the teeth are actually going to be really dark, right? So one of the interesting things about how do I describe this? If you were to dim the lights, so okay, there's a couple of things to consider here. Let me take a moment to kind of find the best way to describe this. There are two big things that fight against each other when you're talking about OSL. And this is the brightness of the object that's emitting light, and then the brightness of the environment around it, right? So, for example, if you are in the middle of the day, noontime, sun is shining, it's bright outside, and you have a flashlight in your hand, and you're like putting that on your face, you're not really going to see that light very much. And the reason for that is the environmental light is more intense than the glow, right? Which means that environmental light is more impactful than the glow will be, so you're not going to see the glow or the OSL onto any of those surfaces because the light from the sun is overriding everything. Now, when you get to later in the day, as it becomes darker, that's when you start to see object source lighting become brighter, right? Because the brightness of the sun obviously is super intense, but the brightness of your flashlight is by comparison not really intense. But at nighttime or in a dark room or when it's overcast out, if you have a very intense source of light, then that is going to be bright enough to cast shadow or cast light on to the object that you're talking about. The other part of this as well is if the source is bright enough, it will cause its own shadows to be cast from its light source. So for instance, if I am holding let's say I'm wearing a glove and holding this. I say a glove because your skin is translucent. So if I'm holding like a glowing orb, you would actually be able to see it through my skin. So if you were like wearing a black glove, so it's not just your skin, and you're holding an orb, or even so let's say like a white glove even, right? You would be able to see if this glow is really intense and the environment is not super bright. You'll notice that this light is emitting past my hands, and the back sides of my hands are going to be cast in shadow because the intensity of this light in my hand is brighter than the environment. And so the shadows are being cast by this because the light is brighter from here than it is in the environment. So thus I get a shadow in that negative space. The same thing is going to be true for your teeth, right? Not only is that glow from the mouth really, really bright and largely brighter than the environment, but it's also really close to the teeth. And the closer the object is, the more intense that light is going to be on it. So what's going to happen is the backside of those teeth is actually going to be a little darker than they would be normally because that light's going to be casting shadow behind it. So paint the teeth a bit darker than you would normally because they're going to be cast in shadow by the light coming out of the mouth. Boom. Long-winded way to explain how that works. But there's a lot of from all these explanations you can kind of understand that light and OSL is a very complicated thing to kind of understand because there's a lot of different variables that change how it works. Avian's got a good question here. So I could apply grays or dark ivory for the teeth, then work shadows on that. Honestly, you could just paint them gray or like a dark ivory and then do a little bit of dark on the other side. And it's going to make that glow feel even more intense. All right, back to it. All right, so we're gonna darken this up. We're gonna mix a little bit of that dark plum into the green, and we're gonna use this for the dark shadows again. And I'm thinning this out a bit so that I'm gonna use this as like a partial glaze. You'll notice here that it's pretty thin, fairly translucent. And I'm just going to kind of work this over areas.
All right. I have a kind of a longer question here, kind of the red. I'm working on a project where I'll be using your translucent blue over bold titanium white.
Yep.
For a very bright effect. Previously, I have done this with translucent. I'm assuming you're meaning transparent. Transparent green, where I highlighted it with translucent yellow to make it even brighter. For this effect with the translucent blue, would you still use the translucent yellow as the highlight? Maybe translucent green? Or would you use sky blue thinned down and then mixed with some glaze and wash medium? That question for you, Jordan, if you want to read it.
Yeah, I'm reading it through it really quick. So blue's a little bit weird, right? So green and yellow work great because you can paint something yellow and then you can paint green on top of it, and it works really, really well. Blue has less of a good option for this. like yellow and blue are not quite the same. You end up getting green. But yellow and green like complement each other in a way that like blue just doesn't really have an equivalent complement for. That's a brighter color, mostly because the brightest color in the cold sort of the side of the spectrum is technically yellow, but it's also blue. Because you start getting into the like the greens, and greens are very clearly not blue. But you can get the blue greens, so you could do green. Sorry, I'm kind of working through this problem in my head while I'm talking to you guys about it. I would say, well, I guess my first question is, what specific effect are you trying to go for? What are you trying to paint? What object are you painting? Are you painting the glow of like an orb? I think having some context about specifically what you're trying to achieve and what you're trying to paint will help kind of give me a better idea of how to get the effect to the place that you're looking for with those colors.
Trying to reproduce a dragon white from Game of Thrones.
Trying to produce a dragon white. What's a dragon white? I'm not familiar.
Let me look it up.
This. Maybe I'm just dumb. I'm probably likely very dumb and just forgetting. Oh, Viserion after he was killed by the Night King? Are you talking about that kind of like eerie blue glow?
Yeah.
That the undead dragon has?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Yeah, so I generally like to keep it all with blue. I won't use any other colors when I'm doing that.
Like this.
Well, I think they're specifically talking about that kind of glow.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like the eyes or the fire, right?
Yeah.
And for that, you can literally just use white and grays, and you can paint over it with the blue. The eyes and fire. Okay, yeah. So the fire obviously is going to be super bright. So you want to start with white, and then you want to use various blues on top of that. So you can start with transparent blue. I actually like to mix the transparent blue with bold titanium white, because it'll give you a little bit of that like off-white that works really well as like a secondary color. You can also use like white blue as well. And then you want to start darkening things from there, but you don't want to make them too dark. I think in terms of the glow for the eye, you can actually go fairly dark with it and like make the intensity of the saturation from the transparent blue a lot more prevalent. Whereas on the fire, you want to keep it much brighter and much more intense, and you want to use less of the bright blue. It's kind of like painting with fire, except instead of using oranges and reds, you're using blue and darker blues instead of using the yellow to the orange to the red, right? Yeah, blue is a very difficult color to get OSL to work with very well. It is like, for example, when you're painting red, you can use orange and you can use yellow, and it works really well. It's not quite just a pure red glow anymore. It turns into more of like a kind of fiery red glow. If you want like just a pure red, then you have to stick with different values of red. You can change the intensity and the vibrancy of the red in it, so you can use like more of an orange red than a red, like a fire engine red type deal versus like a magenta type of red. And that will give you a little bit of like visual and hue distinction between the two. Because realistically, what you're looking for is contrast to make things interesting. And the color variation in something like a green glow when you add yellow to it is much more interesting to look at. Blue is interesting because you have less opportunities within that hue to make it look really interesting without using dark colors like magentas or like you can add some of that kind of purpley range to the blue, but then it starts to stop looking like blue really quickly. That's why blue glows are very difficult, and you end up wanting to use more like really intensely saturated blues, and then you use more like white blues, and then you use some like deeper blue shades that are maybe have a touch of purple in them. But you want to keep it more singularly on hue, and you want to use the value shifts to your advantage when doing blue glows. I don't have
really a bluish thing.
Yeah, I don't have a blue glow over here. That's great. I have a Vader over, not Vader, but I have a model at my desk, but we can look at that later. But um, yeah, I think that kind of gives you an idea on where to go with blue glows. Generally speaking, and I'll break it down really quick: white and an off-white blue, and then start thinly glazing with the blue transparent when it's more translucent, right? Because the transparent colors are super duper intense right out of the bottle, like super intense. So you want to mix with like glaze and wash medium and a little bit of water to lower that intensity. And then that's where you start getting your gradients from, is you start increasing the intensity after you've done the first couple of layers of low intensity glazes. And then you start building it up, and that'll make it darker, and that'll make it more intense and more saturated afterwards. Cool. So just kind of going back to this, even with just a little bit that we've done with this glaze of the green is already really starting to kind of make that glow come to life on the other parts of the model.
Here's a little question for you
from
Yazin. Who's your favorite fictional character, and have you ever painted it?
Oh my goodness, that's a broad
big question.
Ooh, who is my favorite fictional character? Oh my gosh, what a question. That's so hard. It's kind of like asking what your favorite movie is, right? Well, I mean, ironically, I have a very simple and clear answer to that one. Good Will Hunting. I've told you this before.
You have?
Yeah, Good Will Hunting is my favorite movie of all time.
No, I think this is the first time I'm hearing this.
Yeah, Good Will Hunting is my favorite movie of all time. Bar none.
Malev. Tony Hawk is mine. That's funny.
I don't know. This is a difficult question to answer because there are a lot of aspects of different characters that I find appealing for a lot of different reasons. And I think that they all serve a different role within the worlds that they're created in. Which I know is not really like a clear answer to the question. I would say I would have an easier time picking something out from a specific like movie or show or book series. That's easier to do because you just find characters that resonate with you as a result of like who they are and stuff like that. I don't know if I have a favorite character amongst all of them.
What about your favorite Primarch?
My favorite Primarch? Ooh, that's a good question as well. I am not super well versed in all of the Primarch's backstories. So it's difficult for me to be like to have super strong opinions about this. Obviously I like Alfarius. I think that his backstory is really cool. I've always liked Horus. He's just kind of that like, I don't know, that fallen sun sort of figure. That like he started out with the right intentions and just went horribly wrong.
I guess that's one way to put it.
Yeah.
Great intentions went wrong. Yeah. I don't know the story at all.
I mean, he wanted to. He ended up not believing in. Yeah, his daddy issues. Primarch story. Primarch lands on planet as baby, grows up, gets found by Emperor, daddy issues. Very accurate. Yeah, I don't know. Heretic, my brother, little Billy. That's what I'm talking about. Um, yeah, it's interesting to me because I grew up really liking the bits of the Horus Heresy that they gave us, and which was mostly just stories of um like the big ticket characters like Horus and Sanguinius and stuff. And I never was super attracted to Blood Angels as a faction. And I think if I had read through all of the Horus Heresy books, I would have a stronger opinion on this. But I really just don't. Um, I'm not a super deep lore nerd, unfortunately. Um, Certainly not to the extent that Jason is. I've found my little bits and bobs of interest within the lore that I grab onto. So like I said, the Alpha Legion stuff I really like. I think it's really cool. Um, but it's not, something that I would necessarily hang my hat on, as it were. So you can see me kind of hitting the edges of some of these bangles here with this brighter green to get these kind of brighter reflections on the metallics, because the metallics will reflect from a further distance because they're so reflective. Um, so I'm getting those bright pings of reflection onto the bangles. Now, one thing that I'm noticing here is this feels like this space needs to be filled up with a little bit more green. So I'm going to make this a little darker. So I'm going to take my green, a little bit of the faded plum, a little bit of the faded blue, or faded ultramarine rather. Add a little bit more green to it. Get that nice mixture. And then we're going to go back and we're going to kind of bring in some of that green color. We're also going to darken some of these areas as well. Some of the cheeks down here. Parts of the hair deeper inside here. This part's kind of hard to get on camera, unfortunately, because these are like up underneath parts of the model. Now I'm adding more of this bismuth yellow. I'm going to bring in a little bit of the pale yellow now, so we can get some of these really bright colors on here.
Welcome in, everybody. If you're tuning in, we did the first part of this model on Tuesday. We did the witch skin work up, and now we're doing some OSL. Yesterday we had Jason on, and tomorrow we have Jason on. We have a little variety week. We had a couple things going on that Jason needed to do, and Baby J was available, and he hopped right on in. And now we're doing a cool little OSL workup. You can see the first part again on Tuesday, Svad, and the rest is history.
The rest is history, as it is said. So one of the things I'm trying to do here with these really bright reflections.
Yasin's got an interesting question. What is more valuable to you? Do you have your painted miniatures on your shelf, or to have pictures of them in your Instagram?
I don't care about posting stuff on Instagram. Those of you who follow me on Instagram will know that I don't post very often.
Yeah, Zazin's asking, do you usually paint the OSL light source first?
You certainly can. That's kind of up to you and your preference. If that helps you really understand and get a better sense of like where the light is coming from and how intense the light needs to be, then totally you should do that first. That can be very helpful. I have done this a lot, and I have a pretty good sense of like what that light is supposed to look like. So I can kind of just envision how it's supposed to hit on the miniature. So I'm not painting in that OSL. But you can do a lot of things, like you can kind of like use your brush to go, okay, this light is really pronounced here. It's going to like go out to here, and we're going to get a bright light there, right? And you do the same thing. You're like, okay, light is emitting here. It's getting blocked by this finger here. And then it's going to go bright, right? And then you're like, okay, that part's bright. We're going to make this a little brighter.
Voldemort, I think I can answer your question. I have a question for airbrush. Do you have to use airbrush always in an open window in my room? I would definitely have some well ventilated
Absolutely,
spaces. So
you should be doing that.
Yep.
Well ventilated space.
Here's one from Lil Billy. Any advice on colors to mix unique pink shades working on Emperor's Children Army?
Oh, let me tell you.
Oh,
let me tell you right here.
Jordan's very excited about those Emperor's Children.
I will be painting up some Emperor's Children when they come out. I'm currently working on Eldar right now just because I really love those models and they're coming out. Here's what I would do. I would start with a white primed base coat. Okay? This is going to be kind of crazy because it's really bright. Dark magenta. Okay? Dark hot pink. Dark magenta. Dark magenta, dark hot pink plus pink. And then pink by itself for the brightest highlights. And stop there. That will look really, really nice. And it's going to be really nice hot pink. It's going to have a nice intensity to the shadows. But we'll have that nice like pink feeling to it that the Emperor's Children should have. I like having that pink be a little bit more intense. It looks a lot more interesting. Visually, you have a more distinction between brightness and shadow, right? If you just paint the pink on the model by itself, it tends to look a little flat. So giving it just a little bit more of that like intensity looks really good. And then on top of that, then you paint all the trim and stuff. You paint everything else black, and then it just looks so sharp. You paint all the... I'm a guy who likes to go silver and pink versus gold and pink. I don't think it's bad to do the gold and pink. I just prefer silver.
That's looking really good, Jordan.
Why, thank you, sir.
It's looking real good. Super Duper John, welcome in.
All right, so I'm going to set her up, sorry.
So what are you doing right now, Jordan?
So, yeah, I was about to say, what I'm doing right now is I'm going to hit this really bright reflective highlight on this little coin on her head. So that you get the sense of that reflection. I'm just kind of poking at it a little bit. I'm almost stippling the edge of that to make the intensity of it a little bit brighter. And you can see how I'm making that line almost exactly parallel, where the brightest part of this, like the biggest part of the skull here, is like if you draw a straight line, bang, that's exactly where that reflective highlight is going to be. And same thing here, right? We go brightest part here, brightest part, bang, right there is where that highlight goes. Same thing here, brightest part, that's where that highlight goes. Brightest part, bang, highlight. Bang, highlight. And you just keep on doing stuff like this, and it really kind of guides you along the route of finding where those highlights should go on the miniature.
If y'all just tuning in, welcome. It's 3 o'clock. We're halfway through it. Baby J is doing a nice OSL effect on this witch. We did the skin on Tuesday, and now we're here today. Hope you all have been enjoying it.
So this is basically pure pale yellow plus bismuth yellow. This is that brightest reflection on the skin. and on the hair. And what I want to do here.
Flapjack, I've been using bismuth yellow a lot lately and really liking it in your non-metallic gold. Awesome. We have a non-metallic gold video coming out next week, so stay tuned for that.
Was that the Jason one?
Yep. We took our Lionel T. Gray, Anthony L. T. Gray, and we consolidated all of those VODs, so the non-metallic gold workup video is coming out next week. So stay tuned for that.
That's very cool. I'm kind of filling in some of this negative space where the light would kind of hit the inside of the eyebrow socket.
Jordan is starting his 30th army. I'm just trying to get Jordan to paint some Age of Sigmar so he can play with us.
That involves me having to buy a lot of Age of Sigmar.
You know what I was doing the other day? I was looking at some of those Skaven.
Yeah?
They look pretty cool. The new models look pretty dope.
Are you still getting that big pile of stuff from your bud?
At some point, yes. But he didn't have the new stuff, like the new Globadiers. I forgot they put a pack of 5 of those. All the weapons, the new weapon batteries and all that, they're just so much cooler.
No, for sure. For sure.
Paint Liquor is asking me, have I painted anything recently? Yes, I finished a
whole army.
Soulblight army this last couple weeks. Right now I'm currently finished building some new Sons of Bahamut Gargants, some Mega Gargants. I am going to be doing a workup of those. That's going to be my next large project, is going to be some big stone giants without rocks on them, but making them stone.
Christopher, I'm proud of you.
Yep, that's right. Me too. I'm proud of me, Jordan. Come a long way, chat.
Yeah. From gluing rocks onto your Gargants.
They are very unique, and they are very good.
One of a kind, you might say.
How much texture paste will I use? No texture paste. Yazin, you said you're from Bulgaria. Yeah, Yazin, I would definitely submit that to support at monumenthobbies.com if you're looking to get some of the paints, but definitely submit that. That's a bigger question for support. So
what was the question?
Yazin's talking about working in a 3D print studio and consider start selling paints. In Bulgaria, there's no place where to buy your paints. So I want to start selling your brand. But yeah, definitely contact support with all that info, and we'll get somebody in contact with you.
Yep, support at monumenthobbies.com.
Mm-hmm. Colonel, yes, I'm definitely excited to give them a whirl. It's been a long time coming, and they are big models, so it's going to be probably a big project. I kind of like to start one thing and finish it and then move to the next. I was thinking about redoing my Sylvaneth, but right now the Gargants are really speaking to me.
I was, you'll like this. I was considering the other day just like absolutely blasting all of my my Skaven to get them done.
I don't know. I think some of the other stuff is cool, right? Some of the old Skaven stuff, but the new stuff is really cool.
It is really cool, yeah.
Like all of the new Doom Flare, like all of the weapons and stuff. Like the Brood Terror, they're really cool.
That model is
they're
hopelessly bad from what I understand.
Oh, it's hopelessly bad?
Yeah.
What do you mean bad?
The big monstrosity that they
just not good to build or something?
No, just like it's bad in the game.
It's bad in the game.
Just terrible, yeah.
Oh, that's a bummer. It still looks cool though.
It does look cool.
But yeah, Skaven would be, even the new vermin, the storm vermin are cool.
I love Storm Vermin.
Yeah, I don't know.
Storm
It
Vermin
could
are
be
like genuinely very cool models.
we're doing a slow griller league here in the office, so starting with 500 points.
I mean, that's 500 points I could get together real fast.
That's the point, Just find the models you like and just paint them and play with them. That's the name of the game, chat. Jordan should do Caradron Overlords and non-metallic metal. That would be
The irony is we talked about
a long
KO
time.
as an option when we were really going through stuff. I've had a real bad. How do I put this? How do we put this, Chris? I had a hard time deciding on an AOS faction to play.
I know. Okra and Chris, you have all the armies I'm trying to build working on Soulblight, Sylvaneth. Nice. Yeah, Sylvaneth is fun. I do have a fully painted Sylvaneth army too. But
All right, here we go.
All right, so Jordan, bring us up to speed. What are you working on now here?
Face is looking pretty good. All right, we got a nice glow on there. It's looking nice and reflective. Now, what we do is we paint this bit that's glowing. We paint the hand, and that'll give us a good sense of where we're feeling as far as the brightness is concerned compared to everything else. So I'm just going over this with a really thin kind of washy glaze of green. I'm going to take some of this yellow from our previous step.
Little Billy, your question is silly. You get 10K for every 10-year-old child you fight at the same time in a gladiator setting. They got knives. You got one blunt object. They have to be KO'd, and it's all or nothing. All kids KO'd, no money. How many kids you fighting, and what's your weapon of choice? That's kind of like the what would win, 1,000 ducks or an elephant.
Kids are vicious. I'm gonna be honest. Children are. They are vicious little creatures. I think most people would probably lose.
That's
not to mention they've got the cuteness on their side. Like, they have a hard time fighting with kids, cute kids, especially when they're slashing your ankles with their little knives. Darn little monsters.
Yeah, so going back to it. Yep, I'm gonna start a new painting project. It's time.
It's time.
My Sylvaneth are kind of already done. I'd like to redo them because I painted them a long time ago and based them. They look really good now, but they're just kind of old. I'm a better painter now. Nicholas is asking if you've seen the new Krieg Death Riders. How would you paint those horses with PA colors?
Man, why is it that I want to paint like all of the models that they're releasing right now? It sucks.
Yeah, they've got some good stuff coming out right now.
Because I really want to paint these stupid riders.
You do?
Yeah.
The horse ones? The Krieg Riders?
Yeah, well, just like Krieg in general.
Yeah.
They scratch that itch of the like historical stuff for me.
Yeah.
While also still being like in a cool science fiction world that I like. Which is such a brutal combination.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say like olive flesh is going to be a big incorporated part of that recipe. I would say, how would I do this? I gotcha. You start with dark plum. You go red gray, flesh wash, red gray, olive flesh. Boom. Easy. It's going to have that weird, like, undead creepy horse looking vibe that those models have right now. And then if you really want to kind of like take it to the next level, then you start incorporating some like glazes of blues and things like that.
Voldemort Sucks has a quick question. How much time do you take away from painting every year?
I mean, I
Or
would say
how much time in the year you take breaks from painting?
I mean,
You're kind of painting all the time.
I come and go. Like I paint a lot, but
Yeah.
I don't paint like insane amounts like I used to.
Yeah.
You know, I have a lot of other hobbies other than just painting. I do it for work from time to time here with you guys. Less so now that I'm not on stream every day. Obviously before I was painting a lot. Like a lot. But yeah, I paint a little bit less now than I used to. I did a little bit of painting last night. I was painting a avatar of Cain. It was fun. Taking a little bit of time to mess around with that. Just did a little bit of airbrushing while I was talking to a friend about Eldar stuff, which was cool. Very topical for the conversation. Sorry, this is going to be a little rough to get good cameras on, but
Tell us a little about what you're doing, Jordan.
yeah, so
for those tuning in.
I'm just getting base coats onto the hair that's kind of deep in the recesses here. This stuff is going to get light on it. It's going to end up being a little darker. We're going to push it into the background, but I want to get a base color on it, and then I'm going to throw a wash on top of it and just pull out specific strands of hair afterwards. And same thing with the hand, right? I'm just kind of like establishing a base color, not spending too much time trying to worry about the specifics of it. And then we'll start to kind of cut away at the parts that are going to be less glowy here in just a second. So now you can see I'm taking a little bit darker color. This has our original skin color mixed with a little bit of that green. And I'm just putting this on areas where the hands are getting light on them, but not super crazy. And then we're going to take more of the just traditionally dark color. This is kind of just the skin tone with just a touch of the green in it. And we're going to kind of blend this into the background so that the hand looks like it's in shadow, except for the bit of green that's glowing into it. And I still use the green because, like I said before, your skin is translucent, so it's going to still emit some of that green light through it, even though the rest of it's in shadow.
Looking good, Jordan.
Thank you, sir.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate that. Welcome in, everybody. Darn tootin'.
Darn tootin'.
You guys want to know what really gets my goat lately?
Whoa. Let's not talk about goats.
You want to know what really makes me mad? You guys want to know? Gabe.
Whoa, why Gabe?
Gabe, man, that guy makes me mad.
You really grind your
He's
gears.
betrayed me. Chat. He's betrayed me. He's going to have some fun next week. I'm not invited.
Oh.
I don't know if he's in here. Probably not. I think I actually
if
just
you
heard him
speak
go.
loud enough, he can hear you.
It's okay.
It's not like he's not 10 feet away from us in the other room.
I see. JFK has been traded in for Arthur Morgan. And that Gabe is the one to go if we want to go. No, he's not. He's not the goat. Voldemort. The only thing that makes me mad is Jason's brush mug. Voldemort. Yes, it's magical water in there. It's magical water. You guys can. You can see that in the thumb palette video I just released today.
So you can see I'm adding brighter reflections on the hand because it's super close. Kind of painting a little bit blind here into these deep recesses because I can't really see what's happening. So I have to kind of just trust that the brush is in the right spot. The other thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a glaze out of the green. We're going to darken some of this area that's up towards the top of the mushroom because we want to have this bottom part be that bright glowy bit. And I want this part at the top to not be glowing at all because these mushrooms are being pulled out of the skull. So like these shouldn't be glowing. Maybe they can be glowing a little bit at like the base, but I want the caps to not be glowing. Jordan using the Force to paint. Yeah, you got me.
Using the Force to paint.
The Force is with me.
Don't eat the paint, just taste them. No, none of that. None of that, chat. None of that, source. Don't eat the paint. Don't eat the paint.
You doing okay over there, Christopher?
Voldemort's asking, how do you paint Darth Vader? He's only black. Actually, Jordan had a painted. Did you paint that Darth Vader on stream?
I painted it in 1 2-hour session on stream.
Voldemort, go check out our VOD somewhere deep in the mines.
It would have been
the VODs
2 years ago.
You can watch that whole work up. And then he gave it away.
I did give it away.
Witty has that, right?
Witty does have that.
That's right.
Yes,
he uses the Force and a number 3 brush.
Yeah. I basically use a number 3 brush for everything.
Basically.
Yeah.
You heard him, chat. You heard it here. Basically. Oh, there's so many things I want to paint, chat. There's so many things. There's way too many projects. Who else out there has too many
You're telling me, Don.
projects to paint?
You're telling me. You're talking to a guy who knows about a thing.
You know who really has a lot is Gabe.
Is Gabe a problem?
I don't know. Gabe, are you over there? Nothing.
He's ignoring you.
He's ignoring me, chat.
He knows better than to engage.
Oh, he's outside. Oh, too many miniature projects and other projects. So many projects, chat. So many projects. So little time. I have like 1.5K of KDM to paint. So much KDM. So much paint.
Who's got KDM to paint?
Looks like paint liquor.
Oh, geez.
What's KDM? I'm forgetting.
Kingdom Death Monster.
Ooh. I have way too many things to paint. Not enough time.
Did you guys paint last night?
No, I didn't. I built. We got a hobby night tomorrow. You better be there, Jordan.
I don't think I currently have plans.
Yes, you do. You said yes already. Got you I already have you a place. What do you mean you don't have plans? You have plans. What is going on? Everybody's like, oh, I gotta go find better plans. I don't think so. None of that.
I never, ever once did I say better plans.
Man, Bull, I have a 3D printing problem. Yes, 3D printing problems. They are out there. Too many STLs. Too many models. I have a ton of Eldar models. Yeah, chat. Here it is. Everybody's bringing it out. Bringing out their dirty laundry of models. Gabe!
You're knocking stuff around, dude.
He's fine. I was going to see if Gabe wanted to come in here, but he's got stuff going on. Yeah, too many things to paint, chat. I'm building an Necromunda game, grabbing masks for Harlequins to be, yeah, spice them up. That's cool. Yeah, I'm excited about everything to paint. It's almost like, well, what do you start with? So I'm trying to get into the habit of being able to switch mid-paint. That's what I'm getting into, chat. What, have you burnt out of PoE 2 yet, Baby J?
Me, a little bit.
Yeah, I'm kind of at that place, too.
I've gone pretty hard, though.
Yeah, I just want the new thing to come out.
I genuinely think we're pretty close to another big patch.
I think it's in May. I think May is when they're coming out with it.
No, it'll be sooner than that.
I think that's what they actually. I think that's actually official.
For
the next big, all the new characters and all that.
Oh, when did they say that?
I thought I read it in an article. Let me see.
I don't believe you, Christopher.
Someone said it was May. I'll double check. I have 2 Kickstarters I haven't even gotten to paint. Yeah, chat, that's the problem. I have too many monument paints and not enough models. Ooh, well, yeah, that's. Oh, Route said he did an announcement on it yesterday. That's what I thought. Route, did they say it was in May? I thought I read that somewhere.
Well, he announced that they were delaying the PoE 1 patch yesterday.
PoE 1?
Yeah.
What? Is that even a thing still?
Yeah, they're supporting Path of Exile 1 still.
What?
Yeah. Although they did just have to make an announcement saying that they were going to delay it indefinitely until PoE 2 was at a functional state. They have too much to fix.
Yeah, chat. Everybody looks like they've got too many models. Panic Bomb, 4 AOS armies. Yeah. No, I've technically finished. I sped up my process of painting most of my armies. But Soulblight, it's not my first army I finished painting. I've technically finished painting my Gloomspite because I have basically, they're all OSL and it's just monochrome but with color. That's all I'm doing my Gloomspite in, which I'm going to redo those too. Now that we have some of the color forged paints, let's get to spray those up. But yeah, alas, too many things to paint, chat. That doesn't count what I'm doing. Oh, that doesn't count what I'm just doing spearheads for. Yeah, I feel you there. I don't know what the Leviathan box is worth now. People got a lot of those. Oh, Jordan. That's looking good.
Yeah, we got the glowy bit on there.
So what's the process from here, Jordan?
So a lot of this from here is just refining. So it's making sure that the values on the top side of things are correct, that there's good blends between the areas of the OSL, throwing a little bit of a deep wash into the bottom of the hair. Hair just needs a little bit of love. I wish I could take this skull off. I wish I could take the skull off.
What? Why?
So that I could get to the stuff behind it.
Oh,
Because these mushrooms kind of like block a bunch of this space.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Nice.
You can kind of just hit some of these mushrooms here at the top of these.
Oh, Colonel's back into Krieg. Yeah, they're cool models. They're cool. Pro Krill would look nice on them.
It most certainly would.
No update on that yet, Zazen.
What was the question?
Any update on when the Trench Crusade minis will be available to buy?
Oh,
And I'm assuming you're thinking of other stuff, but actually no, you can go on their Kickstarter right now. Technically. Oh, the Trench Crusade stuff is pretty cool. We've been painting up some of that. We'll see. We might have Jason paint up another squad of those units and do a little series on them, potentially.
that would be cool.
Derpstick has got a question. What colors do you use for a cream cloak? Also, when painting capes and cloaks, do you like to paint the inside of the cape the same color as the outside, or have it all be one color?
Personally, I like to have the cloaks be different color on the inside than on the outside. That's just like a personal preference. That's not a... There, in no way do you have to do it that way. Using a bit of a glaze of bright green plus a little bit of
Oh, there's a new army for Trench Crusade?
bismuth yellow.
There's another Trench Crusade? Oh my. Is there another army for Trench Crusade?
Ready? I know that they were going to give everybody
Trench Crusade, the Red Brigade.
the Red Brigade. Yeah, they were talking about giving that out at the beginning of the year.
Oh my. Is that it? The Red Brigade?
Yeah, I think so. Sounds right. They had a model out for a long time during the Kickstarter
Oh, yeah.
window.
Colonel said yes, Chris, the Red Brigade. Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right. Ooh, those models were dope. Too many cool things.
Yeah, it's like, I have all these projects, and then somebody's like, check out this dope model.
That's the problem.
And you're like, ugh.
Hey, but you know what makes those projects even better? Bro Grill.
Pro Grill. Making your projects even better. So I think for me, we're getting to the point where we want to darken up some of these places, like the hat a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm just taking green. And this is kind of where we're getting into that glazing section.
Mm-hmm.
We've established all the like opacity that we want, and now we're just slightly adjusting the value by using these glazes. Adding some saturation back in areas where it got a little lost.
If you're all just tuning in, welcome in. We have been working on this OSL Work Up on the Switch today. We did some of the Witch on Tuesday this week, so if you missed that VOD, go check out our live tab on YouTube. It'll be up there. Yesterday we had Jason working on some freehand stuff and decals and numbers and such on his vehicle, and we got Baby J doing some OSL today, and Jason back tomorrow. So we got a lot going on this week.
So I'm going to take a little bit of Payne's Gray. And I'm going to do some dark lining really quick. So I'm going to push dark lines around the edges of some of the parts of the face and the hair and the hat that have kind of gotten a little melded together. I'm going to mix in just a little touch of green.
Game delay. I'm building an army. I've been painting them up with just water. You have any suggestions about what could make my project even better? Probably some paint, game delay. Probably some good old-fashioned paint with that water. Maybe try to get some paint in there, you know? Ghost Hunter, that's what I said. Why not a DA100 brush set? Oh, I saw Jason use that one day. Pretty cool.
Still clinging deep onto that one, huh?
What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know.
So you can see where got a little bit better separation from the head and these bangles or little coins or whatever they are.
Game delay Pro Krill. That's what I would recommend. When is the Shelby crochet stream?
Oh, Shelby says hi, by the way, chat.
Shelby says hi.
I spoke with her earlier today, and she extended her love, admiration.
The Shelby crochet stream.
That would be
Who knows?
funny. Shelby teaches everybody to crochet.
Might be using... Colonel might be using Arizona water. Yeah. I heard that you guys got it rough out there. Our water ain't that great. That's for sure. There's something magical to it, but I wouldn't drink our water.
I also would not drink our water, which is why I don't.
Yeah, maybe one day we'll have Shelby back on. Shelby's been working hard just along with the rest of the crew.
Christopher, what are you doing? Christopher is just staring at Gabe through the slit in the.
Man, shut up. That's it. All right, I'm just giving Gabe some crap. Everybody's been working hard. Or hardly working, am I right, chat? Thumbs down for Gabe.
I'd give Gabe a thumbs up.
Get out of here.
Okay,
Don't
bye.
encourage him.
Okay, bye.
Chat, I can hear Gabe's mechanical keyboard
clickety-clacking
away. Trying to type something away. Don't encourage him. Boo.
So I just cleaned up that eye.
If you touch those keys, you're dead. You're done. The Gabe show will be canceled. The keys on your desk are for your car, right? Asking for a friend. I am your friend.
Yeah, he's asking
You're
for
not
me.
asking for me. Betrayal.
Betrayal.
Big thumbs down for Gabe and chat.
Wow.
How do I do that?
I don't know.
This is looking good, Jordan. Really liking this. Now, what'd you do the eye here?
So I darkened up the eye just to get a really nice, crisp, clean line. And then what I'm going to do right now is I mixed up a little bit of like a kind of like a greenish color for the eyeball.
Mm-hmm. Nice. That looks great. You're making her blind in that eye, kind of.
I think
Like a film.
I think
over
if
her
I were
eye?
to do that, I probably should have done it on the other eye, just
Oh,
because
that's
I
all right.
think it'll get lost
Oh, I guess that's true, huh?
in all the
Sure.
OSL-iness. So I think just doing a regular eye is probably the best play. Nay. Nav? Nay?
That's funny. Nay.
All right, so I'm going to try and match up the direction that she's looking
Mm-hmm.
to get the eye centered. She's looking a little far up. Gotta bring the iris down just a touch. Okay. I'm liking that. She looks like she's looking straight. Well, I mean, looking in the same direction. She doesn't have a crooked eye. Let me get some of that orange that I used yesterday. Use a little bit of orange red. And I'm going to desaturate it with a little bit of that green. So we're mix a little bit of bright green into it.
Here's a good question from Derpstick. Would caramel brown and khaki be a good starting point for a cream colored cloak, with the next paint being ivory?
Cream. Wait, what was it goes again?
Would caramel brown and khaki be a good starting point for a cream colored cloak?
Yeah, totally.
With the next paint being ivory?
Yeah, that would work great.
Asking you shall receive, Derpstick.
Yeah, I think that would work really well. Just brightening up the eye again. Using this desaturated mixture of the orange because it's getting light cast on it from
It's looking good.
The green side?
Yeah, it's looking really good.
And then we're going to take a bit of coal black like we did yesterday.
Coal black.
If I can find it. Oh, I found it. Just a wee bit. Don't need a whole lot. Alright. Alright, and then I'm going to put a little dot.
It's looking really good.
Little dot. You want to zoom in here? While
Yeah.
I do
Ready?
this a little bit, yeah?
There's 500% chat. Just a little dot. Get ready.
Gotta move
Chat.
this out of the way.
He's got about 100 yards to the green. Jordan Lamb for birdie. There it is. Jordan Lamb's going for eagle right now. He's using a pitching wedge about 56 yards away. Downward slope.
So there you go.
Greens are a little fast today, but he landed. He nailed it, chat. There it is.
And then what we're going to do, I'm going to take some of that darker green.
Gonna be. You got to add a green twinkle in that eye? Ask Zazen.
We're going to add a little something.
Babylonian Jordanathan. Looks incredible, Babylonian Jordanathan. Oh, where is it? Oh. There it is.
This is just a little bit of like a green gray that I'm using to add a little bit of shadow to the eye.
Nice. Beautiful. And he sticks it, chat, for birdie. That'll put him 9 under par. What you're doing? What are you doing next here, Jordan?
So I'm mixing up a really, really bright green for this reflection.
Oh, there it is. Do you like the standing desk, Jordan?
It's not bad.
Zazen was asking. Definitely have to get used to it.
Yeah, it takes a little bit to get used to.
It's kind of nice though. Helps your posture.
Yeah, for sure.
There's that twinkle. Careful, SpongeBob. Careful, SpongeBob. Careful, SpongeBob.
Mm.
It's looking good. I like it. Zazen standing is the new smoking. That's silly.
Silly Billy.
Silly Billy.
Silly Billy.
All right.
Walking down the street. Silly Billy.
Hey, no singing.
Walking down the street.
Dang. You see that? Pure defiance.
I'm gonna fix that little mistake over there on the chin.
Nice.
And then we're gonna start sharpening out some of these details.
It's looking good, Jordan.
Thank you, Christopher.
Chat, we have about 15 minutes left. If you wanted to see the beginning part of the Witch Work Up, we did that on Tuesday. So you can go check out our past VOD. And then this VOD will go live right when we stop today. But definitely keep that in mind. It's like Christopher's the Emperor and Jordan is Harris. But
chorus is singing. There you go. I'll take that.
Just sharpening some of these details. These little bangles can be a little shinier. I'm going to brighten them up.
Nice. You want to do the side by side for him?
Yeah, let's do that.
Kind of tell us where we're at in the process.
Yeah. So I mean, this is pretty much to the point of being
Getting close. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you could call this done,
Mm-hmm.
and you could be very happy with the result. Obviously, I could spend another 10 to 15 hours painting this model, and it would still not be done.
But give us a kind of a what am I trying to say? Give us an overview of your process here.
Yeah.
From
So
start to finish, essentially, kind of that
so
elevator pitch.
the idea is when you're starting off the OSL from scratch, you want to start it from a model that's already got skin painted on it, or it's already got a good chunk of the model painted. And then from there, you want to make sure that the areas that are going to be having light cast on it from the OSL are going to be in shadow. So if you started today with us, you will have noticed that the inside part of the face here was still very dark. It was basically almost exactly just dark plum out of the bottle. And then what you're going to do is you're going to start slowly bringing up the value of the brightness through your steps of adding, taking your skin tone color, adding a little bit of green to it, and then eventually building up the brightness to the level of having just pure green, and then bright green, adding a little bit of yellow green or bismuth yellow into it, and then finally landing on, pale yellow plus bismuth yellow plus a little bit of pale yellow by itself, just with those really bright highlights, right? And painting all of the segments of glow together, creating that nice, reflective effect. We obviously haven't done it on the mushrooms yet, but at least you've got a good idea of how this is all supposed to look together. And then you can spend a little bit more time. You can get it to the point where the skin is a little bit shinier like it is on the right. Things are a little bit more polished. It just takes more time. Harder to get done in exactly 2 hours, or 4 hours total, rather. Especially while trying to explain how it all works. But you can kind of tell that extra time, what it does for you is it just gains you additional sharpness of detail and contrast, right? If you look at the left model and you look at the one on the right, that extra time makes the model appear sharper and clearer. It's kind of like having a model that's 1080p versus 4K resolution, right? It's like, this looks really nice. This one on the right is 4K resolution. It's sharper, it's clearer, there's more detail. But this one still looks good on the left, but I've only spent like 4 hours on it. This one has like 10 to 16 on it or something. So that extra time adds a lot, right? But yeah, it's a pretty straightforward workup. It takes a lot of back and forth to get it to the point where you want it to be at. Don't be afraid to step backwards a step and clean up some of the space that you've done with some highlights to either shorten the highlights so they're not quite as broad or they're not quite as intense, or the opposite, you can make it even more intense. Just remember, the closer the object is that's emitting light to the object that it's casting light on, the brighter that cast light is going to be. So that's why our face is particularly bright here. Yeah, other than that, I mean, I think we've covered the vast majority of all the things. We can just hang out here and spend a little bit of time answering questions, or we can knock out a little bit more on the model while we're messing around, and we'll keep hanging out.
Yeah, keep going for it. Yeah, the I've noticed the when you do your light sources, right? I guess I kind of am answering my own questions here. I was going to say, like, how do you know what the power of the light source is? But I guess that's just determined in the entire workup itself.
Yeah, I mean that's a decision that you make, right?
Yeah.
It's not that there's a right or wrong answer. It's just you ask yourself the question, and then you make a decision based on what your mind goes to, and you go, I want this to be a really bright, glowy mushroom thing.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, well then this face is going to be super bright, right?
Yeah.
And then, aside from that, just got to keep painting.
Jade, all of that sounds horrible. Sorry you're going through a hard couple weeks here.
Chuck get sick?
Looks like it.
Bummer. Right before their trip too.
Yeah. Sorry, that sucks. But we're glad that you've come and hang out with us.
Oh my goodness.
Source, I've been lurking. What was the colors used in the OSL? Can you do a little recap of the colors you used for me?
Absolutely. So the OSL starts with the skin color, right? Because most of the colors we were using were the skin color. And that core basic skin color is faded ultramarine and dark plum, right? Simple. 2 colors, 1-2 punch, easy money. And then you start adding in a little bit of green into that mixture that you had before. And then you progressively add more and more and more green until you're basically at pure green. And you're adding a little bit at a time to the model. You're going to be kind of making the OSL feel more and more intense. And then you're adding to that bright green. And then you take bright green up, you make that really intense and really bright. And then you're adding bismuth yellow. Now this bismuth yellow, this is where this kind of starts to scream glowiness to you. There's something about that yellow that adds an intensity to the light that is like really, really striking. And it looks really, really good once you start getting it knocked out on the model. And then your final steps are taking pale yellow and bismuth yellow, plus maybe a little smidgen of the bright green, and you're using that for your final highlights. And then if you need something that's like super duper ultra reflective, that's when you start using pale yellow, or you start using bold titanium white.
Nice.
But the brightest we've gotten is just pure pale yellow. So nothing brighter than pale yellow so far, which is bright, but it's not white, right?
Sweet. You're welcome, Source. And going back to Little Billy, Baby J, Chris, do you have any paints from other brands that favor over your own? If it's too controversial, feel free to skip. No, I'll tell you kind of my quick elevator pitch for Monument. I started with, just any paint I could get. This was years ago now. Wasn't super into painting, really was not into painting. So all I got was just like the paints that I could get. I got like a bunch of used paints from friends or stores. I bought my own, Citadel stuff. But for me, all of that went out the window when I tried Pro Acryl, which then made me more into the painting than anything else, right? Because it was super easy to use. It goes on amazing. It made me want to paint. So I do not have any other paint or any other paint product that I like over Pro Acryl. And that's 100% truth. And that's why I'm here as well, because I believe in the company. I believe in our product. And it's the best. So I'm definitely, again, I'm not a studio painter, but it's coming from a ease of use. And also, I liked originally when I found out we were a US based company, just wanted to support that. And that was something that was really important to me as well. Plus, I knew Jason, and I wanted to support him as my friend as well, as a business person. And that is why I use ProCrill. And honestly, there's equivalents for everything in our line. And Baby J could probably speak to that even better.
What's that?
Just like the equivalencies of like, the question was, do you like any other hobby paints or products over ours? But I do not.
Yeah, I mean, I genuinely think that we make the best paint on the market.
Mm-hmm.
I've been using paint for a really long time. I've used everything on the market, and I think that the way that ProCrill behaves is just superior to everything else, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't use other paints because I don't like, if I need a color, I'll just mix it. We have all the colors that are necessary for creating all of the colors that I would ever need. And so I don't find myself like reaching for other colors.
Yeah.
And I mean, I still get excited when we release brand new colors, because that means that there's like cool ideas that I hadn't thought about, or, colors that I really am excited about having that I've, had to mix for a long time. The thing about ProCrill is it just works, right? I don't have to fight with it. It's the right consistency out of the bottle every time. It works through an airbrush without a whole bunch of rigmarole. I don't have to use flow improver. I don't use any of that. I can just mix water with it. It's a good value. So, when you're spending money on the product, you don't feel like you're wasting money on a small bottle of paint. You're getting a lot more paint for what you're paying for, and you're getting something that's going to last you a long time. So, the value just kind of hits on every cylinder. It's cheaper by volume than pretty much everything else. It's better quality than pretty much everything else, in my opinion. And I think if you ask a lot of other people out there, other people will agree with you, or agree with kind of what we're saying.
No, it's great. That's definitely a great way to put it. So, chat, we are just now finishing it up. Baby J, great work.
Thank you.
Chat, I just threw up some links. We are going to be closing it out.
Right.
If you all have just joined us, we started this project on Tuesday, and now we're here. And yeah, at some point I'm going to try to get the OSL. I'm going to try to condense it for you. But Baby J, do you want to take us out?
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us again today. If you guys were here for both the Tuesday stream and Thursday stream, thank you again. I'm glad that you guys were able to get a lot out of the 1-2 punch of these days. A little bit of technique on day one, a lot of bit of technique on day two. It's been great hanging out with you guys again. Like I said before, we don't get a ton of time to hang out on stream as much anymore, but I really enjoy it still. So it's great to see you all. Don't forget to click all the links, you guys. Chris said he put up all the links. We've got the store link up there where you can buy all the fantastic products that we have here in the store. You can also click the FLGS link, which will take you to a local game stores near you, where you can buy all of the wonderful products that we've been talking about. Go support your local game stores. We love it. We are all about supporting your local hobby, and your game stores are a big pillar of your community to make that happen. So definitely support them. It's also nice to not have to wait for shipping. I mean, our shipping and our fulfillment team is really fast and we ship really quick, but there's nothing better than just going to a game store and buying some paint. And then make sure you guys check out the YouTube link. We got the YouTube link. It's where you can go find all of our past VODs. It's where you can find all the tutorial videos that we've been putting up, shorts, etc. All of that. Great resource for learning about new stuff. The Discord link is also a fantastic place to learn more as well. It kind of is a culmination of all of us hobby nerds coming together and talking about painting, talking about techniques, talking about, projects that we're working on. It's a great place to hang out and talk about the hobby and experience good fun times. Also, you get great updates through there. So if we update anything, you guys are the first to know. That's going to be it for us. Don't forget we stream 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We got tomorrow coming through. Jason's going to be back working on his little tank robot thing. And then we're going to find somebody to raid for the rest of the evening. You guys have a wonderful time. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Hobby it out. We will see you later. Bye-bye.